Training camp interceptions. If you're a San Francisco 49er fan and you followed the offseason closely, particularly updates out of training camp, boy, you know a thing or two about training camp interceptions. So does Brock Purdy. And of course, anyone in the vicinity of 49ers territory will hear about training camp interceptions. But why is that? Why do we hear about 49ers training camp interceptions? And why do they seem to get spun as such a big deal? Well, maybe it's because it's about the people talking about it. But in regards to do these things matter? Do we care about training camp interceptions? Brock Purdy was asked about this because he joined Pop and Lund on KMBR, and he was actually coming off a 4 interception practice. And again, I've done the whole context of all of these interceptions while being at camp and seeing every one of these, and I'll do it again for you. But he talks about, like, is this a big deal? Is this something that, should be concerning? Are you concerned about the interceptions? So you get to hear directly from quarterback Brock Purdy on what his context is when he is in training camp and what he is trying to accomplish. So take a listen to Brock Purdy as he joined Pop and Lund on KMBR right here.
3 straight days in pads. Today was a better day for the offense overall.
Yeah,
We didn't see it, but we'll watch it back. But it went better today.
I think so. I mean, there was a couple plays where, you obviously wish you wanted to be better at and whatnot, but I think for the most part we competed, we came out, we executed. Red zone was really well, so it was a good day.
I've talked to other quarterbacks about this, and I bet you hate camp stats because you guys are trying to do certain things, and then people are saying, Brock threw 4 interceptions today. Explain to people, because I've talked to other quarterbacks in the league, and they've said what you're trying to do in camp is most coaches are saying, go for it. Let's find what your limits are. Let's push it. Let's try to fit in a throw that maybe you wouldn't normally fit in during, if you were in a game, you wouldn't try to fit that throw. So explain that so that people can understand that camp stats aren't a thing, even though the media keeps them.
Yeah. Man, it's a fine line. You want to go out, you want to be efficient, you want to go through reads and obviously protect the ball and whatnot. But right now is the time for us to go out and, you always hear the quarterback say experiment, but that's really what it is. Can I fit it in this window on this hitch? Can I look off Fred or Flan or Devondre in a certain way and then make that throw backside? You got to try it out. I mean, in the game and in the season, it comes down to protecting the ball every snap, every play. So you can't necessarily try those things out. Right now we can. And so my mindset right now is, protect the ball, but let's be aggressive. Let's try this out. Let's figure it out. And so obviously I want to go through my reads, check the ball down, and work on that as well because that's real. That's football. But there's a time and a place where I'm like, hey, you know what? This is practice, and I'm going to drop back and try this out. So, and then you figure out that it can be a part of your game or not for the season.
This is why every year and even beyond every year before training camp, I will tweet out training camp interceptions do not matter because they don't. They really don't. And they never have. And we got into this situation really heavy last year where we had, interceptions being logged, training camp statistics, all of these different types of things, and no context. Nothing. No reasoning. Because again, this is practice. These guys, just like Brock Purdy said, are going into these practice with a very specific mindset. And on top of that, they're trying to improve. They're trying to get better. They're trying to test their capabilities. They're trying to test the defense. They're trying to see what they can get away with. And on top of that, they're going up against looks sometimes that are meant to be beneficial to the defense. And they just have to see how they operate against certain looks that might not be even beneficial for the offense. So there are multiple layers that go into the hows and whys. Obviously, if you're at training camp and you have a quarterback and it is just clearly not playing well and he's just throwing pick after pick after pick, yes, I could understand how that particular context would create some concern, but that's not what happens with Brock Purdy. Again, the 4 interceptions that happened specifically on this day, one was technically a coverage sack that he threw up to Juwan Jennings. It hit Juwan Jennings in the hands, literally dead. It was a perfect pass. in tight coverage against the sideline, and it just hit Jawan in the hands and bounced into George Odom's hands. The other one, it wasn't that great of a throw. He threw it to Diamador Lenore, essentially it's kind of behind the wide receiver, and Diamador Lenore was able to take it for a pick six. And then he had another one where he also threw it right to Demetrius Flanagan Fowles. And then the other one that he had, it was likely going to be a coverage sack, and he just threw it up. So it's like, and I wouldn't even necessarily put it on him. So I would say two of those interceptions of the four maybe could have been better decisions, maybe could have been better throws, but like as he discussed, he I even think he spoke directly to the Demetrius Flanagan Fowles one of trying to see if he could look Flan off, his spot and then come back and throw it right off the backside, and Flan didn't bite. So that's the thing with training camp interceptions. And also too, you have to understand that when a play breaks down, like let's say Nick Bosa completely dominates on a rep, gets to Brock Purdy in a hurry. Brock doesn't just hold the ball, even though the entire timing of the play is disrupted, everything about the play is disrupted. He doesn't just, say, "Oh, darn it." He is coached to throw the ball. The reason why you throw the ball is because it gives work to both the offense and defensive player to be able to make a play on the ball because it's practice. Everyone's practicing. So again, man, like I truthfully believe if you put substantial weight into training camp stats, you don't know ball. It's as simple as that. You're trying to do something else. There's something that is at play if you're really trying to amp up and amplify practice interceptions without touching on a stitch of context. So that has always been my goal when it comes to training camp interceptions. They're going to happen. And when they happen, I'm going to be here to do my very, very best to give you as much context into the how and why that happened. And honestly, no joke, more often than not, it comes down to either a coverage or would be sack. And then that, which would be a dead play in real life, but because they're coached to extend and keep the play alive, they throw it, whether into, double coverage or whatever. They just throw it. That's how it works. And sometimes it turns into an ugly pick. But the context of the play is it was already dead. It was dead in the water. It was a sack. So it's just funny. It's just, I got Nick Wright out here talking about Brock Purdy's training camp stats. No wonder you have a guy cherry picking training camp stats to use as a detriment against Brock Purdy. Sound a lot like last year, didn't it? So that's the thing. You either know ball or you don't. And if you are going to talk about training camp interceptions out of context in that light, you don't know ball. It's that simple. So I love that Brock was able to explain it. I love the fan base. Shout out to the San Francisco 49ers fans because I have seen more understanding of training camp interceptions than I ever have before. And a lot of that has to do with the misrepresentation of Brock Purdy and training camp interceptions last year to the point where some interceptions were completely fabricated. So shout out to the faithful, man. Shout out to not falling victim to sensationalized reporting about training camp stats. You guys are the real MVP. What I take my biggest takeaway from that is you learned, you saw that a guy coming back from a UCL surgery who was still rehabbing throughout that process and trying to get his arm back. And on top of that, how he performed in the regular season, training camp interceptions do not matter. So I love that Brock has said this. I love that you guys have been quick to be like, it's just practice. Good for you. Good for every one of you who has taken that tone with training camp stats. You know what that means? That means you know ball. You know the context of the situation. This is practice. Now, if we throw in picks in regular season games, yeah, we're going to have a conversation about it. But this is practice, just like AI says. We're talking about practice. So, shout out to you. That's one of my biggest takeaways is your guys's approach to training camp opposed to last year. It's been refreshing. And to me, it shows me you guys have learned. Again, not everyone's a football expert. Not everyone's out here at training camp. I don't expect you to be experts. I don't expect you to understand context and nuance that you didn't witness. But the fact that a lot of you have relied on giving the benefit of the doubt to it being practice is huge on you. And I applaud you. And trust me, there has been yet to be anything I've been concerned about with Brock Purdy interception. I would say one interception was like, ooh, not that great. And that was the one to D-Flan. And maybe the one to Demo. That's two. They happen to be in the same day. But he also had a good day prior to that, where he threw a bomb to Devo. So all things have its context and nuance. And shout out to you for recognizing that and bringing that to the light whenever these interceptions are reported. I love it. And let me know what you guys think about this whole situation in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.